Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first ever Crypto World Conference. I'm Dr. Upasana Diwan from Rukmani Devi Institute of Advanced Studies, and I'm your host for the evening. I would like to extend a heartfelt welcome to all our guests and speakers joining us from all across the globe. We have the next 6 hours for you packed with sessions and discussions that will give you a whole new perspective on Web 3.0. So, without making you all wait any further, let's begin with this event that you all have been waiting for. But before that, just one more thing. We have a smashing surprise for all our audience members. During the conference, you'll be asked to enter your crypto wallet address, and the first 20 to do that will grab CWC NFTs that are a limited edition pass to all invite only CWC physical events in the future. So be ready for exclusive CWC NFTs to drops. Please join me in welcoming our first moderator, Mr. Aditya Mani, founder Yologram, for a very first panel discussion on business in Metaverse, real opportunity or just a PR tool. Mr. Aditya is a believer that the metaverse is already here and is taking shape with various worlds blending together. He believes that you must style yourself with brands and love enhances the online shopping experience while creating digital versions of yourself for the metaverse. So he's on a mission to blend the confluence of playable commerce and immersive storytelling by draping our favorite apparel into digital self. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Aditya Mani. So, we welcome you to CWC Crypto World Conference. The stage is all yours.
Thank you very much, Upasana, for that wonderful introduction. Welcome everyone to the Crypto World Conference. We have an amazing panel with us. Do remember to share your wallet addresses because I think that's going to be some valuable NFTs we have. I won't spend too much time, so I'm going to jump into introducing our panelists. So we have with us Massimo Buomo. We have Rish Lotlikar, Denise Guarda, as well as Mayur Vadwani. I'm going to start with a little bit about Massimo Buonamo. So he's a UN global expert in the worlds of metaverse, DeFi, NFTs, blockchain, tokenomics. So these are all very relevant fields today in the world of the metaverse and DeFi. And he's been a board advisor and consultant for startups, international organizations, various central banks and governments, and he advises them on DeFi, NFTs, CBDCs, which is your central bank currencies. And he's, as far as his past is concerned, he's been a senior equity banker and an analyst, and he's been a professor of fintech and international finance for the University of Rio, Turin, and Wuhan. He's been in multiple continents, so he has really brings in a global view, especially with his UN advisory capacity. We also have with us Rish Lotlikar, who we often refer to as the rock star of the AR VR world. So he's actually someone who brings in the world of finance, innovation, and Hollywood, which we call entertainment. So he's kind of worked in Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and Hollywood, and he's the founder of Superworld, which is an amazing brand that really ties in the social aspect to AR and VR in the metaverse. So he kind of ties in community, brands, and influencers. He's also the founder of Rogue Initiative, which is a AR VR and AR VR platform that ties in feature films, TV, and gaming. And he's the board member of Talent Today, so he's the right person to reach to in case you're having any of those talent kind of problems in this entire space of AR, VR, and metaverse. We also have with us Denise Guarda. He's a writer, he's an artist, he's an academic, he's a B2B in tech influencer, inventor, and serial entrepreneur. So he's worked with a lot of new tech, uh, cryptocurrencies. He's driven ICOs both from a regulation, compliance, and a legal framework. And he's also created a bank. And one thing pretty amazing about him is he's been with some of the top 100 digital currencies from their inception. So that goes to show that he's able to pick the top 100 digital currencies because we've had so many of these which have not done well. But he's been a part of the top 100, and they've picked him as well. So it goes to show they've kind of chosen the right kind of advisor to work with. He's also the creator of of Zetudium, and he's been a part of the blockchain startup that created the software called Blocking Pact that was sold to Glance. He works with UN, UNITAR, UNESCO, the European Union for Space Agency, Davos, WEF. I mean, the list goes on. He's another guest lecturer we have who's worked at the Copenhagen Business School as well as Monaco. So, beautiful places. And we also have with us the whiz kid startup kid with us who holds 11 years of work experience and management diploma. His name is Mayur Vadvani. He's the CEO of Metaversal.com, and I really had a chance to look at it. It's a wonderful platform that lets you stress test your virtual world of metaverse. So, I'm going to go ahead and give the floor to Massimo to say a few words, and then we can move on round robin to each one of you after that.
Okay. Okay, Aditya. Thank you very much for your kind words. I think this panel is going to talk about something that is really important because to me, this is my strong view. Metaverse is the biggest revolution in human history. And I am going to explain that in few words just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. Historically, in human history, there was always this following sequence: thinking of doing something, and then experiencing it. Now with Metaverse, this sequence is for the first time reverted. And the new one is thinking of doing something, experiencing, and then doing or not doing it. In fact, the new sequence gives an additional choice: doing or not doing what was previously decided. This way, we can avoid the mistakes of the past. So, in fact, the Metaverse will be an environment where, with the headset of the proper technology available, anytime we are thinking of, for instance, buying a product, we experience it, and only after the experience, we decide to buy it or not. Or even doing or not doing a surgery, in the Metaverse, we will experience how our body will evolve if or not we have the surgery, and then we decide whether or not we want to have a surgery. Other examples are endless. So this is why the Metaverse will be an open environment where we can experience anything we want in the virtual world without experiencing that in the physical world. That is just to give you an overview of the importance of Metaverse for the future.
Okay, and that's a great segue to Rish, who deals a lot with experiences forward. So, if you'd like to say something about the whole experiential paradigm, Rish.
Yeah, I think that was very well said. I think that the technologies that we're bringing to bear in the metaverse, augmented reality, virtual reality, NFTs, AI, what these will enable us to do is to really have a much more compelling way to do the things that we want to do in the world, whether it's work, play, education, travel. Everything that we do, we're going to be able to experience in a way that is completely real, that enables us to connect in just much more deeper ways with each other, allows us to learn in much more efficient ways because we're actually, experiencing things in real life. And so that ability to have that presence in an immersive environment, I think makes a huge difference. And then I think that with Web3, the fact that we're spending all this time more virtually, we would want ownership of not only the time and resources that we spend, but of the experiences that we might be creating in those environments, and have the ability to transact globally in those environments. And that's where Web3 and blockchain really, I think, has a huge impact on the metaverse.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rish. And I know you spoke about both experiences and ownership, and both being very important from a B2C angle. But we're talking about it from a B2B and a business angle. So would the super world really have a B2B play as well? And how do you? I remember you talking about work and then play. So do you think it's going to be something that's going to be pushed from corporates to consumers, or is it going to be a consumer first thing that corporates are going to play catch up with?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think that there's going to be progress on all sides, a B2B angle to this, an enterprise angle to the technologies here, but also in a very consumer fashion. And I think we're seeing it already play out that way. So whether you're talking about centralized virtual worlds or decentralized virtual worlds, I think over the last, 3, 4, 5 years, we're seeing the growth, especially on the decentralized side, with consumers. On the corporates, especially as the technology with augmented reality has gotten out to market, we're seeing Magic Leap and Microsoft and others really focus on more B2B experiences and B2B on the hardware side, just because the cost of the form factor of getting the hardware out to market. And so I think for that reason, it makes a lot of sense to go on the hardware side to corporates and enterprise that can afford that hardware until we get the price point down. But things that are just mobile and web are very accessible by anyone, as we've seen with Pokemon Go and Niantic's success. So I think that what's happening as it relates to immersive technology has that definite kind of duality to it, depending on the cost of the hardware. But on the Web3 side, I think that's a very consumer-oriented experience, but also has the possibilities of expanding on the enterprise B2B side through loyalty programs, through ticketing, and other ways that we're having businesses kind of come on board.
Yeah, thanks for that. And talking about loyalty programs and ticketing, Denise, if you'd want to share some of your real world experiences of how we're looking at NFTs play out in the business sense, and your take on how the metaverse will evolve both from B2C and B2B.
Thank you so much for having me and great insights. I agree as well that the metaverse or all the technologies that we have as part of the metaverse are going to have a massive impact in the world. They are already having. But I think there's, before we go directly to the point, I think that we need to look at the metaverse from three angles. And I like that this panel is about metaverse and the business, because at the moment we have a narrative that is more about VR and a bit like the meta narrative. Then we have the second narrative, which is a bit the NFT, cyberpunk, crypto, decentralized narrative, which is a bit utopian and effectively create a couple of unicorns, but some of these unicorns are very fragile, let's put it that way. And then we have the other narrative, which is the one that I'm trying to be part of. I think all of us here, that is creating real solutions for the world. So I think if you look from that, the angle of your question is that definitely at the moment, when we talk about metaverse enterprise and all these different things, we are already having these things happening. So for instance, if you look at the moment, there's around 500 million people every day on some kind of metaverse experience, especially children, from the Roblox to a lot of other platforms, and Roblox probably is the biggest cut of it. It's a $40 billion economy. But from a perspective of military, and I think most of the people don't speak about it, but most of the military organizations around the world are already working metaverse immersive experiences, from a kind of AR, VR experience for fighters and pilots and so forth. This is already a multi-billion dollars industry. I think we don't call it probably metaverse until the concept came mainstream. And as well, one of the things I'm working right now on my personal ventures, I created the project metaverseabc.net.tech. And one of the things we've been finding is that ironically, there's so much capacity to create like hyper real capacity of metaverse experiences, but this part is not so part of the narrative and canon. For instance, at the moment, you can create super hyper realistic avatars. We can create and put it then in digital twins. So if you look at this part of the digital twin and the metaverse technology together, and they put it in real estate, and then we put it in hospitality, retail, we have the entire business world migrating from Web 2 to Web 3, or at least the two things working together, because you can have the two experiences. And that's partly a bit of Google Earth is already that, being fair to Google. I think the challenge right now is really like in the beginning of any of this technology. For instance, what happened with the NFTs, it was a fantastic explosion. But of course, like all the speculation driven explosions, they actually end up actually in a zero. But I think if you look at it from a perspective of certification and putting this certification in terms of the metaverse experiences of Web3 and Web2 alike, and e-commerce, and putting the NFTs as certification of this, then we are solving the problem of the business that you're talking. And this experience can actually drive us in very clear revenue streams that will solve a lot of problems. That's why JP Morgan is predicting by 2030, which is in 7 years, the metaverse will be around $15 trillion. And as well, we are already getting close to, I would say, so if you look at all the crypto together right now, is less than $1 trillion. So definitely this is going to be a much bigger revolution. And I think, just to pick it what said before by Mayur, I really believe that this is, I said the metaphor, I see the metaverse as a new narrative for humanity, where actually the narrative of immersive technologies with our own narrative, which partly starts with the phones, is going to be scaled in a very big way. And I think, especially looking at AI and with exponential technologies, we're going to explode this. And part of the reason I created Cities ABC was to create a platform for cities, because even now, we don't even have, for instance, in Africa, 55% or around 40%. I don't know, the number is a bit tricky, but people don't even have access to the internet. So we have a kind of a paradox. We have all these technologies, but, and of course, this will create a lot of reverse engineer in terms of enterprise business, but the possibilities are enormous. And there's no doubt that from a narrative perspective is going to have massive implications. And I'll finish just as a note that I when I think about this, I just want like to think that I prefer the narrative of Star Trek instead of the narrative of Star Wars or the narrative of Terminator, because in the end of the day, it's happening. And at the moment, you can have holograms like in Star Trek. We can actually go to a concert in Las Vegas of Michael Jackson or George Michael. This is happening on a daily basis. So we are already there. But I think when we think about the concept of metaverse, it goes to Ready Player One. So I'll finish here, but I'm very enthusiastic and realistic about this.
Yeah, thank you for that. So great narratives, right from Star Wars, Star Trek, Ready Player One. I think Matrix is also somewhere there, but amazing. And when we talk about these, B2B metaverses, Mayur, what is your take? How about small, medium enterprises? Do they have a play as well? And do you see small, medium enterprises entering the B2B metaverse space, or you think there's still time away for them?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. And metaverse, like I believe that it was started when I created, my word using my Yahoo Messenger and Facebook ID back in 2010. And since then I have been creating, my online identity. I have been there, and I have been promoting my business. I have, as a entrepreneur in past, I have, in the digital world, virtual world, we have used it extensively. And that's how I believe, small businesses, SMEs, MSMEs, they all have a chance to stand here, because big companies, they are doing it right now for the PR, and smaller company, they would just jump in, use those technologies which are around. And I have known companies which are already using it for trainings purposes to their employees, saving a lot of cost, and design purposes as well. People collaborating from a distance and designing designing a piece of art or a piece of automobile, sitting from different offices. So that is how SMEs and small medium businesses, they have already started entering into it. And as a matter of fact, I read somewhere that, around 20% of the training use cases which are happening in the metaverse are largely from small and medium businesses which are happening. And that is how I believe they stand a chance. Apart from training, obviously there are meetings which are happening, and people finding value in the metaverse and accessing it, though there are some constraint and entry barriers, like, devices and other things. But investing in those is a smart move right now, which smart businesses and smart entrepreneurs are identifying and actually investing in it. And if they are at the right time, which is now, they will reap the benefit in future. That is
Yeah.
what I believe.
Thanks. Actually, the training is a very important thing, and that's why I wanted to just jump back to Rish because I know that he's selling virtual pieces of land. So, wondering if campuses of big enterprises are buying their own virtual version of how they exist, because one of the biggest use cases in training is organization health and safety. So, imagine getting a fire safety in the exact building that you're in versus a generic video of fire safety, or imagine going to a plant, learning about it without having to fly to HQ. So I just want to know, Rish, are corporates actually buying up the virtual real estate of where their physical location lies on Google Maps?
Yes, many are. It's not required. In other words, a business can create, in Superworld, can create content anywhere, whether they own their virtual real estate where they have offices or whether they do not own that virtual real estate. So to be clear, in Superworld, as a brand or an enterprise, you have the ability to create, discover, and monetize anything anywhere, just as anyone else does. But by owning the virtual real estate, you're benefiting as a stakeholder from all of the other activity that happens on that area that you likely are also benefiting from the fact that you're also spending resources there, whether it's training or education or marketing or whatever it is that you're kind of doing as a business. But we do see a lot of real world physical businesses want to occupy virtual real estate where they have their physical offices, because they've, again, in the physical world, put a lot of resources into that geographic location. They're probably attracting, whether it's customers, whether it's even their employees, depending on the footprint of their offices, commerce to that area. There's, neighborhoods built around the newest Tesla, headquarters or offices that are built, as an example, right? Or whether it's Amazon or you name it, literally neighborhoods get built around those places. And so property developers and owners of physical land or businesses that occupy their offices there are often buying virtual land. And that really kind of demonstrates what's happening between virtuality and physicality. It's coming together. And by owning that land, you're able to, again, be able to benefit from all of those linkages in that location.
Yeah, thanks for that. And coming to some of the risks that the metaverse poses, Masumo, do you want to take a stab at that? On what are the kind of risks that enterprises and consumers need to be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, the point about risks is very delicate to some extent because it's an issue that is not be discussed so much, but it's quite important. So I'll try to be as clear as possible. First of all, Metaverse is also a potential for hackers to gain control of it. In general, governments have not been sluggish in their approach to cybersecurity concerns, such as the rise of AI-enabled misinformation, including videos known as deep fakes. And there is a potential for deep fake issues that make you confused about discerning reality from the metaverse. And let's get concrete. Deep fakes are used to trick users into giving away personal details to convince them of something happening that has not happened or not true. And the amount of data captured in the metaverse and the importance of that data is huge. There is a need of regulation to protect our data. Now, virtual reality systems work by capturing extensive biological data about a user's body, including pupil dilatation, eye movement, facial expression, skin temperature, and emotional responses to stimuli. Spending just 20 minutes in a VR simulation leaves nearly 2 million unique recordings of body language. So that means that users, for instance, wearing a full body tracking suit can have a seizure, and it happened in the past in the VR chat session. Also, in Meta's Horizon Worlds, a beta tester declared that her avatar was groped by a stranger. Also, there were other people who supported this behavior which made the tester feel isolated in the horizon. So there is a risk of sexual harassment in VR and metaverse. There's a possibility of blocking someone from interacting with you in Horizon. A rolling buffer of what you see is saved locally on your Oculus headset and then sent to Meta for human review if an incident is reported. So a beta tester has a safety feature built into Horizon Worlds, including the ability to block someone from interacting with you. But as we said, those risks are growing. Even 5 minutes of VR data with all personally identifiable information taken away could be correctly identified using a machine learning algorithm with a 95% accuracy. So in a crowd of a million, the data that you capture from a headset for wearing that headset for 5 minutes make you spot in a crowd of a million with 95% accuracy. So these are concerns that must be taken into consideration if we want to go ahead. As I am a truly believer of metaverse, but we have to address these issues because otherwise there will be a problem for metaverse companies going forward.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think you addressed the privacy angle pretty well. And I think that is something that's very concerning. But I have a question for Denise and Mayur. And one is basically, Denise, we are looking at, when we look at the compliance and the, regulatory angle, we're very, detailed when we're doing ICOs. And, when we look at NFTs, we typically have smart contracts, but the average consumer doesn't know how to audit a smart contract. So from a NFT blockchain point of view, how do we make it more reassuring for users so that there isn't going to be another crash in terms of investments that they make in NFTs and blockchain? And Mayur, for you, I just wanted to know, how can a platform like yours help in stress testing and preventing such kind of hacks and things like that? So first Denise and then Mayur. I believe we just have 2-3 minutes left.
Yeah, I think we have to separate the technology and all the trading and investment part. So the technology, I think it's not different from the internet. You had the dot-com boom. On the SEO, you had multiple cycles. We're still going through cycles. And for this, one of the comparison I like to do is if you compare the Apple stock, or actually no, let's look at Amazon stock. The Amazon stock almost went to zero multiple times, and now is one of the biggest companies in the planet. So in the beginning of the dot-com cycle, you had all these things, and then you had as well this. So I think we have to separate the different things. And I think when we talk about metaverse, to be honest, in my case, I'm much more interested on the technology than actually on the speculation around this, because it's obvious that there will be a blur between companies that will create ecosystems that have their own tokens and the ecosystems that will be just using the technology and building multi-billion dollars or multiple trillion dollars companies on the metaverse kind of set of new technologies. I would say, to answer directly the point of compliance, the point of different parts, I think the challenge right now, it comes back to the governments are too slow on this. And they are still, for instance, you mentioned the smart contract. So if any government wants to go to any kind of cryptocurrency and check the smart contract, you actually will see all the trajectory of the smart contract, and you can actually solve most of the compliance issues because it's very easy to see. It's just check the wallets and you go there. I think the point is even just what you're talking here, probably 90% of the governments or 99% don't have a clue. And I think this is the biggest risk. I think for me, the risk is not so much the technology or the tools, is the lack of knowledge or the lack of education. And I think the education system, although I've been teaching in universities and business schools, is actually alarming not prepared for this. For instance, I've been having meetings where even very basic areas of cybersecurity, and for instance, I have the case of one big corporation when I was in a meeting and they had like a password like 123, and this was, I'm talking, one of the top corporations in the world. So the challenges are there. They're not going to change. This is a lot about people. But let's put, okay, just to wrap up, and I know that we have not a lot of time, let's separate the technology, the all the iterations of the companies that will build the technology, and they will be getting new revenue streams for that or selling as a stock, and then the speculation or the environments around that, which is the case of Decentraland and Axie Infinity and a lot of these platforms that are actually creating fantastic value, but they are more gamification driven and crypto driven. And I would as well separate as well the part that you can actually create reward systems within platforms without even have to use too much speculatory parts. You can actually create like American Express point systems that you can actually reward people on that using the blockchain. And to finish on the blockchain, I would use it as a certification, as a digital layer of certification that creates a supply chain capacity on that. And I think if you go to that direction, you solve the problem.
And just to conclude here, I know I can say that whatever they I agree to it, and our governments have to come forward. They have actually embraced the technology, have to start educating people around it, because knowledge is something which can help people to avoid any kind of and any kind of bonds which they are facing. And we cannot just wait for things to happen, uh, bad things to happen, and then react over it. We have to do it proactively. We have to come together, create a community, and come up with more standard. And as far as spaces security is concerned, you can use the help of the community. The people like us, we are trying to build products which help stress test to your spaces if there is any loops or anything, which can be obviously sorted out. So I'll conclude saying this.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate all the insights and inputs. Over to you, Dr. Pasna.
Thank you so much. Wonderful panel. It was an absolutely smashing and a wow inspiring session. So, today we've heard a new narrative of immersive technology moving from Web 2.0 to 3.0. And of course, we saw the B2B, the B2C angle, and of course, the new narratives. So, three different angles, three new different narratives. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Money, for moderating this session. And thank you, dear panel members, for having joined us and being a part of CWC. Thank you so much once again.